So we talked about what slope-intercept form is. So you have the equation, and the equation's written in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. If you remember, the m is the number that's always multiplied by the variable x, and the m represents slope. Then the b is the number that's always by itself, and that represents y-intercept. So we have this equation here, y equals 2/3 x minus 4. The first thing we need to identify is what the slope is. So what's the slope of this equation? So what's the slope of this equation? 2/3. Because 2/3 is the number being multiplied by x, that's going to be our slope. That's going to be our m. Then what's our y-intercept? What's the number that's by itself? So that's going to be my y-intercept. Once I write once I write what my slope is and what my y-intercept is, I'm then going to come to my graph, and I'm going to graph it. I start by graphing my y-intercept first. Because the variable b is my y-intercept, that means I'm going to plot the point on my y-axis here. So I start at my origin, and if my y-intercept is -4, am I going to go up or down? I'm going to go down 4 spots. Good. So that's the first point I'm going to plot. Okay? After I graph my y-intercept, I can go ahead and graph my slope. My slope is a positive 2/3, so rise over run. So since it's a 2/3, a rise over run, where do I go for my y-intercept? There you go. Nice. Plot that point. And we just draw our line, making sure we follow all the line specifications that we established this triad. Any questions on that? Do you all feel pretty confident about that? Okay, go ahead and flip it over. Now the back side is what we're going to be talking about in more detail today. So now the directions say, use the graph of the line given in the coordinate plane to determine the slope, m, and the y-intercept, b. Then use them to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Well, what's my slope-intercept form equation? What's my slope-intercept form equation? Good. So that's my slope-intercept form right here. Now, what I do, the first thing that I like to do is find where that line crosses my y-axis. So I'm going to look and determine where this line here crosses through my y-axis in order to get my y-intercept. So where does this line cross through my y-axis? Right here, right? You see how my line crosses the y-axis there? That's going to be my y-intercept. That's where it intercepts that y-axis. So what value is that? What's my y-intercept? What value is that on my y-axis? 3. So my y-intercept is what? Positive 3. So which variable do I write that next to?
B.
B. So I'm going to go ahead and plot my point there. Now, when you go to find a slope of this line, just looking at this line, what kind of slope is it going to have?
Negative.
It's going to be a negative slope. Now, you can go ahead and find every single lattice point on this line and find your slope using the lattice point from the far left. Or, how I like to do it, I start from my y-intercept and I find the very next lattice point from the y-intercept. So if I use the very next point from my y-intercept, it's going to be right here. Now, to find the slope of this line, am I going to start with the circle or the square to count?
Square.
The circle. We always start with our furthest left, right? So slope is rise over run. So if my rise, am I going to count up or down? Down how many? And then what's my run? Over 2. So what's my slope? -1/2. Good. So now with this information, we're going to write it in slope-intercept form. So I already have my y equals here, and you guys told me the slope form was y equals mx plus b. So how would I write this in slope-intercept form?
-2x plus 3.
Yeah, that's it. So what I did here, I used this equation, and when I saw the slope, m, I looked up and said, oh, my slope is -1/2. I know my slope is multiplied by x, and then my y-intercept was a positive 3, so it's plus 3. So that's it. That's all we're doing today. We're just adding that last part on. Any questions? Okay, go ahead and make sure your names are on those openers and pass them back towards Brendan. Brendan will put them on the computer desk for Mr. McFarland.